Welcome back, tennis obsessors, to another video where, as you can see from the title, we'll be doing a review of the new Head Gravity Tour. Now, I wanted to try this racket ever since it came out, and now I'm finally able to do so. It's strung with the new Qualia Sport strings, and if you haven't heard of them, go check out my latest video, linked above, where I explain all about them. And if you want to try these strings for yourself, then head on over to qualiasport.com and use the code OBSESSED at checkout for 20% off with no minimum purchase. But without further ado, let's get into the review. The racket is 305 grams unstrung, and that is mainly all in the handle, meaning it's very whippy through the air. Sometimes I did enjoy this because it allowed me to get a little extra spin and power, but other times I found that it moved too quickly, causing me not to hit the sweet spot as much as I would have liked. Although, it is quite forgiving when you don't hit the sweet spot, so the shot may not be exactly where you were aiming, but it's not as wild as other rackets when you hit off centre, which I think is a huge positive for it. Also, if you're new here, then I should tell you that the speed of the shot shown should all be increased by 20%, because the speed shown is for the ball throughout the whole flight, whereas the professional stats are when the ball is at its fastest, so the shots shown are faster than what it says. But back to the racket, and let's look at power. The racket provided me with great amounts of power. Swinging hard with this racket often rewarded me with a booming shot that was difficult for my opponent to control. Although I had to often swing quite hard and fast, otherwise the ball was not dropping in or it was ending up in the net, and sometimes you don't have the ability to always swing hard. The racket had bags and bags of spin. It's a 16 by 19 string pattern which will offer spin, and the string bed itself is very open with the rounded head shape to give you even more. The launch angle is quite high to also allow the ball to drop in at the end, and with the racket being very headlight, it allowed me to get more spin because I can increase my racket head speed. Although I will say that even though it does shine when it comes to spin, hitting flat with this racket proved quite difficult. This was a consistent issue with it, but you don't have to have an exaggerated topspin stroke to get the ball to drop in, so you can adapt quite easy. But if you hit flat most of the time, then this racket won't suit that game. If you are enjoying the video so far, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe, as it will help me push more content out like reviews and comparisons in the future. The way to describe the control and feel with this racket is solid. The frame contains graphene which strengthens it and provides good stability, making volleys decent, but because of the open string bed, it of course wasn't going to be the greatest for control, but it was very surprising how good it actually was. The racket isn't a point and shoot racket, which is why sometimes the ball isn't always precise, but because of the elliptical beam creating more flex and of course the Exotic 2.0 technology, the racket still has good feel. Not the greatest for it, but definitely not the worst. Going on to the ground strokes. I loved it on my forehand because a lot of my shots dropped in when I wasn't expecting them to, but the only thing I will say is that you aren't allowed to take a lot of pace off the ball, otherwise you don't get that required spin or power. You do have to hit pretty hard all the time to get that ball to drop in, like I said earlier in the video. Although, because of how headlight the racket is, sometimes I did hit off the centre because it whipped through the air a little too quick. But the high launch angle allowed me to return the ball deep when I was at full stretch, and the power made sure it wasn't a short and slow ball either. The backhand had its ups and downs. I was able to hit the lower balls with topspin instead of slicing, meaning I could stay on top of the rally a lot easier, but I didn't like it being headlight because of the one-handed backhand. The stability slightly made up for it, and the torque 125 string being in the mains as it's a control string also made up for it, but I did struggle from time to time with the racket, but never to a degree where I was nervous to hit a backhand. I know it may not seem important, but the noise this racket makes is so different to any other racket I've used. Very difficult to describe, but it's almost like a whistle noise. Unless you crack the ball hard, then it sounds like a gunshot going off. The noise is very polarizing. Some will love it and find it addictive, but some may find it distracting. It's quite likely that when you unleash on your shot, that it will induce fear into your opponent, which can be a big plus. I personally found it rewarding, and it gave me a burst of adrenaline when I cracked that shot and heard the big boom. Finally, onto the serves. Due to the open string pattern and how headlight the racket is, I found my serves were a lot more powerful than usual. Sometimes I couldn't direct the serve as well as I would have liked, but that's just a sacrifice to make for a powerful serve. When I cracked a serve and it came back with interest, the lightness of the racket did occasionally make it buckle in my hand, especially on the backhand side. The kick serves were easier to hit than usual because of the spin of the racket, and the high launch angle added to how high the ball would bounce. Also, the lightness made it easier to brush up on the ball. I'm going to be uploading a start of a new series soon, which involves this racket and a couple more of your favourites, so stay tuned for that. Not only were the serves more powerful, I found they were more consistent as well. I think this is due to the ability to pronate easier with this racket, meaning less were going long. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. Like I said at the start, if you want to try these strings for yourself, then please head on over to qualiasport.com and use the code OBSESSED at checkout for 20% off. It's the cheapest way you're going to get it. If you want to see any more rackets reviewed, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video.